Welcome to the School of Real Estate Investing. Guys, today we have a very special guest with us, Mr. Adeladio Gonzalez. Mr. Gonzalez is joining us today. He is someone who has been fighting for fair property values in the Valley for over 40 years.
Over 40 years.
Yeah. He's a Texas State certified general real estate appraiser. He has been retained as an expert witness and valuation consultant in numerous high-profile litigation matters, providing testimony in county, state, and federal courts. His case portfolio includes representation proceedings involving major corporate entities, such as an expert court appraiser in SpaceX versus obviously other very high-profile individuals. But Mr. Gonzalez, tell us really quick. You have been doing real estate appraising for over 40 years. Yeah. What first drew you to real estate appraising in South Texas?
I went to school of business, undergraduate, graduate, and then after. I could not see myself in a corporate setting with executives caged up. I felt that my calling was more to be out there in the wilderness and living by my wits, but more important, for some reason or another, every time I turned around, I would stumble into somebody that had need. And many times that need was they were scared because they were taking their land from them through eminent domain, whether it was an irrigation district or the city or the county or TxDOT, Texas Department of Transportation, or whether it was a pipeline, whatever. Okay? And a lot of them, they had several problems. One of them is they couldn't find an appraiser that was expert in that. Secondly, they couldn't find readily an appraiser that was that had the gravitas to go to the courtroom and testify.
Now, see, I love that you said that. Guys, we cover a lot, whether it's investing your money in real estate, building your house, creating your real estate portfolio. But here in South Texas, we're currently encountering something that has never happened. Right now, we got corporations like LNG. We got the oil refineries in South Texas, which we're all very happy for. The thing is, there is something that a lot of Valley families don't know. And that is eminent domain. And I really want to bring the focus and attention to that topic. Mr. Gonzalez, what is eminent domain?
The government has the right to take your land, whatever that is.
Okay.
They have the right. You can protest all you want, but they have the right. However, they have to pay you what's called just compensation. Okay?
Okay.
And there's a process to that, okay? So I'm going to go with the flow as to how you want to ask me the questions, whether you want to have the process explained today or for another podcast, I will defer to your guidance.
Yes.
Because you're the interviewer.
Yes. So now that we know what eminent domain is, right? We have currently big corporations coming into South Texas, and they're bringing a lot of jobs. And I think each and everybody from the Valley is super excited for it. The thing is, when these private companies are coming in, they are going to take your land through eminent domain. And what they do is they send a landowner an acquisition letter. Okay? What is actually happening behind the scenes that the family does not know?
Several things. One is to say that there is not some background cooperation would be naive. Okay? An appraiser like me and everybody should be independent. They should arrive at an independent opinion of value. Let me say it again. An opinion of value.
Okay.
An appraiser is not a statement of fact. It is an opinion of value, which is why when they offer you X amount, they says, well, this is the appraiser. Then they make it sound like it's a fact. It's not a fact.
Okay. So we have these companies coming in to South Texas. They're obviously wanting to take Valley family lands, whether it's for the oil refineries, the LNG, right? Are companies legally required to pay for fair market value?
Well, their fair market value is not used anymore, even though it verbally it's used, but it's really they have to pay you what's called just compensation.
Okay, just compensate.
Yeah, just compensation, and it's a special type of appraisal because it's not like your generic appraisals where you do a URR form or you do a narrative on a commercial and you go down the list, you follow the three approaches, your income, your sales, your costs, and reconcile. It's not like that. There's some similarities, okay?
Okay.
But there's some specific techniques about it that you have to know what you're doing to get them done. Okay. Now, I'm approved by TxDOT, Texas Department of Transportation, but that doesn't mean that I'm tied to them or that I have to accept assignments from them, or it doesn't preclude me from anything else, okay? Because I am independent, okay?
And that's what I really want to focus there is we have Mr. Gonzalez, who's a TxDOT certified general appraiser, the highest of the highest, right? And so we see these companies coming in and a landowner like yourself gets a letter in the mail. What right does the Texas Valley family have when they receive that letter? Because you're gonna get letters in the mail, guys, and they're gonna be offering you a certain amount, and that offer is gonna look really nice. What right does that family member have when they get that letter, Mr. Gonzalez?
Well, I will differ a little bit in that letter is not always fine. Okay?
It's not always what?
Always fine or well received.
Okay.
Because oftentimes they offer you for the taking. And I'll describe what the taking is when it's appropriate. People receive a letter and they get scared. It's from the state of Texas. And unfortunately, the taxpayer is paying the state of Texas through taxes of one form or another, and they're using the taxpayers' money to fight them, to get powerful attorneys, to get their own appraisers that allegedly are independent, and I'm going to be careful to always say allegedly, supposedly, to keep me out of trouble, okay? So, I've been around the block for a long time, okay? I know how the system works in the real world. In the make-believe world, they receive a letter. We're going to take this. We're paying you this. And then what you can call him a landman, even though it might be a woman, that is contracted by the state to go and talk to you and I'm not saying that they are necessarily um, colored by who's paying them, who's buttering their toast. But I will let the audience use their imagination, so I won't have
Yeah.
somebody coming after me. Okay, not that I'm afraid of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not afraid of them. Okay, I fought powerful people. I don't care.
Mm-hmm. The that's I'm gonna want to talk about. I know one of the terms and that really catches my eye about you is sophisticated junkyard dog, and we'll dive into that in a little bit. But just so that the audience can see, guys, if you are a family member in South Texas and you get a letter that a certain entity is wanting to pay you for your piece of land, you don't have to accept that price. You can actually hire a state certified general appraiser to represent you on your team. Now, if someone is watching Mr. Gonzalez and they receive a letter from a company, right? What is the very first thing they should do before they respond? Very first thing.
They can contact an attorney. I always recommend talk to an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
And even when I'm working with them, I always defer to the attorneys. Okay, even though I do a lot of work for attorneys, and I know what they need to prevail, and because I have different disciplines, finance and all of that, brokerage, I'm able to formulate the particulars of the case uh, on both sides of the spectrum.
Okay.
Okay. Now, when they get a letter, I tell them call an attorney. Okay. However, an attorney is not an appraiser. An appraiser obviously is not an attorney. The only one can determine value, per se, is an appraiser, not a broker. An appraiser. A real estate broker cannot testify in court. And when they give you value, it's a BPO, broker's price opinion.
Exactly.
Okay. When the landman approaches you smiling and brings you some donuts and cupcakes, and I'm just exaggerating, okay? But, I'm not saying, I am not saying that it's a wolf in sheep's clothing. I would never say that, okay? But that is one person that is doing his job or her job. He, her, I have to be politically correct now. Their job, I'll use the word their job is to try to get the best value for their employer. Okay? And they have a big advantage because, like Teddy Roosevelt said, President, they talk softly and nicely, but they carry a big stick, the state of Texas behind them. When I go up against them, I have some people that barely making a living, okay, against the powers to be, which is why a lot of appraisers don't want to do that because they're afraid of them. They don't want to burn bridges. I could care less. I fight them all the time. I am a sophisticated, elegant junkyard dog. Okay, and I tell people that. I tell attorneys that if you're looking for a refined poodle, with the best perfume from Paris, you got the wrong guy. Okay, If you want somebody that knows how to fight within the rules, within the legalities, but can land the plane and has a cajones to fight, I can be polite about that. But if you don't have them, forget it. Appraisers, attorneys come to me because somebody hired an appraiser, general, seasoned, that made an appraisal. I just had one yesterday. And when it came time to trial, they refused to testify.
You know, he just said when it came time for trial, and we're gonna dive into that. One thing, guys, that really why Mr. Gonzalez and I connect so well is besides the fact that we're both real estate brokers, we've built houses, we've invested in hundreds of deals. The one thing that drew us together was helping people, specifically the Valley. Being born and raised in the Valley, and I know we have our offices there in San Antonio as well, but our intention has always been to represent and be there for the people from the Valley. And Mr. Gonzalez, one question I have is if you have spent, over 40 years specifically in your role to make sure and to make sure that people got fair value for their property. Fair value for their property.
Just compensation.
Exactly. Just compensation. Thank you. What do you want every family watching today to know?
To contact an attorney, okay, and they charge a percentage, okay? Most of them. Some do it per hour. Depends. Of course, find out how they do it. Secondly, is because even if they hire an attorney needs an expert, okay? And the attorney tries to find appraisers that they feel confident that have the elegance but have the pit bull of being able to being in the courtroom, being able to take the heat and not stumble and commit not necessarily perjury, which you could, but that can be discredited in front of the court system and be disqualified. And that's a black mark for any appraiser because the standards are a lot higher because you've got somebody shooting at you deliberately, trying to discredit you and point out that you're the worst scum walking on the earth. Even though some of those people that have tried to do that with me, I'm the scum and I'm all of this, I oftentimes, most of the time I prevail. When I walk out, they'll stop me and they'll say, man, that was good. That was good. I got 4 cases. I want you to help me. Hey, let me have your number. They just told me I was the worst scum.
Yeah.
They're I better not say it because I'm too much of a gentleman.
I love hearing you talk, Mr. Gonzalez, because I can easily see that on switch right away of the mindset and the individual you become when you have to represent the people. And so, to recap, there's a lot of companies. The Valley is going to a big change, guys. They're coming here, whether it be with data centers, and they're going to take your land. There's no question about it.
Yes.
There's nothing you can do. But the thing that we're fighting for you guys is to make sure that you are rightly compensated. And we have Mr. Gonzalez, who's been doing this for well over 40 years, well expert in what he does. And we're in this moment in time right now where a lot of people are going to need someone to represent them. And where we are right now is with Mr. Gonzalez, I want to get a little bit of what it looks like when a landowner gets a letter, and obviously they're offering them very little for their property, very little. And they call you as a general appraiser, and you take on the case, you're helping them out. You know, you've called yourself when you're in this courtroom and you're there so that they get rightly compensated. You call yourself a very sophisticated junkyard dog.
It's an oxymoron, but there's a method to my madness, okay?
All right. How does that, I want to know really quick, right? You're there, you're defending the people to get the right price for their land. And I truly believe it. I mean, without even being around you, I run into people and they're like, oh yeah, Mr. Gonzalez, right? I even, last week, I think someone referred to you as a tiger, right?
I've been called other names, but we
yes.
won't go into that's for another podcast, okay?
So how does that actually play out when you're facing, right, these very high price corporate legal teams?
See, well, every time I walk into the courtroom and I know I'm going to go to the stand, I still get nervous. Now, it's not in my best interest to admit that, but I do. But it only takes me 2-3 minutes, then I'm okay. If they piss me off, it's gone right away. Okay? That's out
That's
of the
natural for you.
Yeah, that's out of the way. So, again, you're walking into the lion's den, which is why a lot of appraisers don't do that.
People get a letter in the mail, they call an appraiser, and they're like, oh, that's not what we do.
Yeah, and if they call me after we finish, it says, call 20 appraisers at random and ask them, I've got this case and that. If the state of Texas or LNG or SpaceX, which I fought, or whatever, and prevail. Very complicated.
So you
tell them that, and then you tell them, but tell them you're going to have to testify, and if they don't hang up on you, they'll at least be polite and tell you why they can't, and if you find out one that says, yeah, I'm willing to testify, then ask how many cases have you testified on, and what kind of companies have you done, and so forth and so on, and what are your references. My references are automatically on my email. My team is very detailed. They're on my team. Now, I have a team because even though I come across as being sometimes arrogant, it's not that, okay? I'm anything but that. I know where I came from. But when you're there, you sell credibility. I'm selling an intangible that people cannot, like a restaurant, you taste the food, or a car, you test drive. You cannot tell what I do unless I tell you, I show you credentials, I give you references, and so forth, okay? And then, of course, I get most of my work is referrals, so those are already built in. But other than that, you have to come across as, can you land the plane? Can you stand being hit like a piñata? Because you will be. Now, I don't, when I do an appraisal, it compared to 30 years ago, I had to testify on over 60-70% of the cases. Then 20 years ago, it was like 50%. 10 years ago, it went down to 25, something like that. Now, I testify on maybe 5%, 3%. Why is that? Because they know me. I've whipped them.
They're not even wanting to compete with you anymore.
I shouldn't say whip them. That, you know. Let me put it this way. I get my little attitude adjustment, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And and some of them have hired me. But it's showbiz. I mean, they one time you're testifying against one, and then the other time you're testifying on the other side. I'll give you an example. SpaceX, um, right, that rocket that blew up, okay, was was standing right close to it. And I was about to get the drone up till I realized, oh no, it's just FAA, get me in trouble, So I just stopped. But then I had my client there with me. He's an owner of several businesses. And I didn't like uh, something about it. His attorney, I didn't like him, okay? Even though he's hired me after that more. I didn't like him. I didn't like his attitude. And I didn't like him instructing me what to do. I don't go there, okay? I'm not a yes man or whatever. Um, and finally I told the guy, then when he said, well, I gave him my price. He said, well, the attorney has an appraiser that can do it for less and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I says, look, I'm a capitalist. I've always have been a capitalist. I live and die by the capitalistic sword. I'm okay with somebody underbidding me, todo. Let him have the job. That's fair game. I got a lot of work. Okay? It's fair game. He says, but don't make me spend 2 days educating you and your attorney when you have ulterior motives. That I don't like.
Mm.
Okay? Be upfront with me.
Exactly.
And if you would have said that from the very beginning, well, don't waste 2 days of my time.
Exactly.
Okay? Now, I didn't charge him, and I told him I was not going to charge him, and I did not charge him. That was not the issue. The issue was just not being upfront with me.
Okay.
Okay? And so I told him, I'm going to have to decline the assignment, yada, yada, yada. I swear, I shouldn't swear, but they must either be reading lips or your mind or your brainwaves or whatever. It's a true story. And I have the proof. When I agreed to resign, within 5 minutes, the guy was telling me, please, Mr. Gonzalez, don't do that. I don't have representation. You just told me you had an appraiser way before me that would. He said, yeah, but he's not willing to testify. Because then don't tell me he's an appraiser, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't tell him he's a court expert witness. He's not. Don't bullshit me, okay? And I know I should be more polite, but I'm not politically correct, okay? I'm not,
But I think when we're dealing with these big corporations,
Yeah.
right?
But let me put a nail to that. Within 5 minutes, I had a text from the Elon Musk there in
From
Tulsa.
SpaceX.
3 offers on 3 properties.
Wow.
And they were paying me very
Wow.
well.
So just to
And now I know why, but I'll tell you. One of them was the subject. And I showed it to the guy. I said, Mr. Gonzalez, who's going to help me? I felt like telling him, should have thought of that before, but I'm not a hateful person. I get ticked off in it, but I don't hate anybody. I don't. And just to wrap it up quickly, when he finally said, I don't have representation, I'm a soft heart when it comes to that. I said, okay, I'll help you, but I don't want that jerk bothering me, okay? I shouldn't call a jerk, okay? I've called attorneys liars and then corrected myself with lawyers, okay? I might get in trouble for saying that, but
That's good.
But so be it, okay?
Yeah.
You can't stand the heat, stay out of the kitchen. So the attorneys on the other side were trying to impeach me by claiming to the court that I was not an expert, even though I've testified in a whole bunch of. I've never been stricken out, and So when I answered them, I'm going like, cupcake. You hired me 14 years ago on a high profile case. You prevailed, and you testified and swore to the court that I was the greatest. I mean, I'm embellishing it, that I'm the greatest since white bread. Okay? And now you're saying I'm scum of the earth and all of that. And then I said, and the client is trying to smear me, but yet I got emails which I attached to my response, wanted to hire me. So which way is it? Cupcake?
That's good.
You know? So anyway.
And so I love that story because here you have a family from the valley. They're getting an offer from SpaceX for their property. We don't want to discuss that offer. They hire Mr. Gonzalez. Now, obviously, you're not someone to put up with attorneys or when they're trying to tell you what to do. So you're gonna walk.
I don't go there.
Yeah. So he's gonna walk away, and you're telling me within 5 minutes that you're gonna walk away, you're getting offers from SpaceX to appraise their property. 3 offers from SpaceX.
Very well paid. A lot more than what I was charging this guy.
And what I love, my favorite part about that whole thing, Mr. Gonzalez, where you could have really represented SpaceX.
Yeah, because I had given them free advice. Okay? There was no confidentiality of other than what were the facts. The facts are the facts.
But
and the facts were published, okay?
You could have said yes to SpaceX, but you said no. And you chose to still represent your client.
They weren't my client until I felt morally, I'm very tough and everything, but I'm very soft when it comes to that, to have somebody without representation against very, very, very powerful forces. Okay?
Well, I think if you look at South Texas, we're not a tier 1 market like Dallas and Los Angeles, and we're not a tier 2 market.
And I've testified in Dallas against the Dallas Cowboys, and I won. We won.
And that is amazing.
The Dallas Cowboys. Okay?
Yes. So when we're dealing with an area like South Texas, that's a tier 3, very unrepresented community, right?
Yeah.
Having someone like you to defend him, it's like a no-brainer. Now, I've heard you say, and when we were talking, this thing about a goldfish versus a shark. Can you explain that a little more?
A goldfish trying to preach to a shark is like what that attorney trying to do. Trying to tell me what to do when he doesn't know what he's talking about. No more than it's my place to take his role. Okay? And not all attorneys, but a few think that they are there, the attorney, and then below them is God, and then so forth. Okay? And because of that, not all, just like there's some appraisers that are bad. I don't mind them being aggressive or suggestive, but when they try to talk down to you because they're attorneys,
That's awesome, Mr. Gonzalez. And I think that's very admirable. Personally, for me, and what really drove me to this industry, I was a teacher for like 6 years, and they were I wasn't getting any help with the real estate situation. They were actually taking my dad's house away. It's a very different topic for another day.
And I remember that.
And we met about 10 years ago, and I remember when we bonded. And I said, I'm going to get into this real estate profession because they were taking advantage. And that led to another, that led to me getting my license, that led to me. And what I love and is very admirable, Mr. Gonzalez, is you're here for the people. The money comes and goes, and real estate is a very lucrative business. And if that's what you're about, awesome. That's great for you. We're happy. But here with Thrive with AJ, we're here so that we can assist people in real estate so that they can create a legacy for them and their families. And so I just love what you share there, Mr. Gonzalez. I mean, I can dive in more and more. But before we go, I do want to focus on one thing, You not just being an appraiser in the valley, you've mentored people, right?
Huh.
In the industry across Texas,
A lot of them.
right? Tell us a little bit about that, your 40 years of experience, those people you've mentored, what you've been able to do. No ego, nothing aside. Can you expand on that a little bit?
I've mentored a lot of appraisers to this day, and a lot of them actually, even though they're supposed to be my competitors, uh, a lot of them have become almost my partners.
Mm.
And then the very high profile ones, there's one in McAllen. High profile, but that I mean has taken on the big powers to be.
The people in charge now.
Yeah.
You've
The,
mentored
the other
those.
the other one does work for a certain entity, and that all he does is represents that entity, which you can make your own decision whether he's an employee or independent
Mm.
when you've done 500 or 1,000 appraisals for them. Okay?
Wow.
So, okay? Now, so technically, there's only maybe two that fight the powers to be. And thing about that is that I kind of mentored him, but he's a very intelligent person. He has an accounting background, and 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 he's a state general. He's a court expert witness, and he was at one time a director of the minority enterprise back in the day. Uh, and he's very committed to the underdog and all that. Okay, and so am I in a different way. But he's supposed to be my competitor, but he will not come against me. He has turned down work. When I say come against me, let me explain that. He's just doing his job, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But when you're in the heat of battle, you look at we won. No, it's not that you won. It's just that you prevailed in what you did, okay? And the attorney is the one that won, okay? The attorney is the one that won or lost or however you want to define it, okay? Depending on whether politics or not. Not there's any politics in Hidalgo County, okay? Let me be clear about that, all right? Let me be perfectly clear, all right? Now, he will not fight. We talk every day. We collaborate. We're doing some very complex assignments right now, extremely complex. And I'll shoot him off a case scenario. I never tell him what I think. Never. I don't want to prejudice him. Same thing when he doesn't tell me what he lets me decide. Then once we get feedback, then many times we're on the same page, or sometimes there's maybe one or two where we disagree. Okay, we start spiraling. Iron sharpens iron. Okay,
Yeah.
and that's how we become better, and we do this every day. Okay, And I set up a little organization to mentor appraisers, and I'm more of a visionary. So he was building it. We're building it up, and then finally he took over and took it and got the credit. I could care less. I'm not an ego person. My mind is more entrepreneurial and all of that than executive, even though I have two MBAs. So I stepped back and said, look, this guy has more talent in the details and stuff like that, which I find very boring. Have at it. And he did. From there, we mentored several appraisers, helped them out. Some of them we helped them from losing their licenses. And most people say, what are you doing then? Let them take their license, you have less competition. I said, no. If I want to win, I want to win in the ring. Not because somebody took their license or anything like that. I have never gone after another appraiser on their license. Never, and I never will.
Wow.
I'm not going to take somebody's livelihood for him or his family.
Wow.
Just to get even though, believe me, there's a lot of them I could have done that. Okay?
Yeah.
It's not because I'm holier than thou. It's just not part of my being. And from there, two of them became presidents of the ATA, which is a big organization. In
ATA
Austin.
stands for what?
Uh,
The Association of Texas Appraisers.
Of Texas Appraisers, yeah. And that covers the whole state of Texas. And then the one that would visit us there quite often, now we would hug each other, I wish I would have been nicer to him, became the chairman of the board for 2 terms.
Wow.
And he's the one that when they were giving me that award, he was the one on one side, and on the other side was the commissioner for the real estate part. Okay? The main guy for real estate brokerage.
Wow.
He was the main guy for the appraisal. He's the one that signs the licenses for all appraisers in Texas. Okay?
Wow.
And he was the only one for 2 terms. Okay? So he got there on his own. All I was saying, he would visit us, and then we put a celebration for him in Laredo. Okay? So that I felt like, okay, God put me here for a purpose.
Well,
I want to leave a mark before I check out,
Well, I want to say this, and before we close out, is just hearing all the people that you mentored. You've been in it for over 40 years. When you first got into real estate, were there appraisers? Were people appraisers? Were they required to get their license or no?
No. It back then you could do appraisals and be a broker.
Okay.
Okay.
So
because the TLTB, USPAP, and all of that, they didn't exist.
okay.
Okay.
So you've pretty much seen the appraisal world, real estate appraising world from the very beginning. And from the very beginning, you mentored a lot of individuals that really became important figures
Yes.
in the state Texas organization. And a lot of them are still around.
Yes.
And it's amazing.
And they send me, a lot of them send me, they're supposed to be my competitors. I get a lot of work from them. They refer me stuff because it's beyond their pay grade or they're afraid, whatever.
Wow.
Okay?
And I've seen it, I've seen you, whether it's someone through the years. I mean, we've known each other for over a decade. I remember when I first got into real estate, I was a teacher. I was dealing with the situation. I'm like, Mr. Gonzalez, I'm underappraised, right? And he just educated me, and I'm forever grateful for that.
We were having caldo, and then I was telling you stuff you have to do, and you were writing everything.
Yeah, I was writing, and I noticed early on is that you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to take your time with someone who had no idea about real estate, and you helped me out. You educated me. And I'll forever be grateful for that.
And they can become my competitors, see?
Yeah.
So people will tell me, why are you doing that?
Mm-hmm. But yet, amongst all that, people getting different positions and all that, you maintain your goal to continue to help people from South Texas, right? And what are the areas that you serve currently that you're helping out?
Oh my God. Well, I told you we went all the way to Dallas. That was eminent domain. We've gone to Corpus, we've gone to Laredo, Stark County, um, Hidalgo County, Willacy County, Cameron, the island. Um, I'm sure I'm missing a few because I've got 60 counties that I have access to the database. And over the years, I've built up a tremendous database, okay? And the individuals that I've mentored, that oftentimes they send me work, and I was criticized like, why are you building up your competition? Some of them would say, ¿para qué creas gatos para que te saquen los ojos? Why are you building up either tigers or cats for them to take your eyes out later on?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that way. Okay, I'm a firm believer that you reap what you sow, and to receive, you gotta sow, not the other way around. So all I do, and I never charge them, not one penny. If anything, sometimes I paid for lunch, I paid for dinner. Okay, it was just my way of giving, and I want to mention something about now. It was my way of giving, and and not looking at the compensation or charging them. It was just sowing the seeds and let the rest. There's laws of nature and there's laws of God. Okay, that's simple. Whether you believe in that or not, at least those are my concepts, and I live by that. As you know, we're setting up the academy and expanding it to the valley, and building up that for different reasons. And a lot of it's to mentor the next generation. Okay, and it's part of giving back. I've been grateful. Appraisals have been good to me. The real estate business has been good to me. So it's my way of giving back. That's simple.
And thanks a lot for that, Mr. Gonzalez. I think that is very true, and I've definitely seen it. And right now, just the real estate industry as a whole, I see it's just going through a big change. Yet, I do feel there is a lack of wisdom that individuals like myself don't have. And I'm very fortunate to lean on that wisdom because with AI and all that technology, I mean, that's taking over, right? You either going to adjust or be left behind. But knowing the wisdom that you carry, and like you mentioned, right, we got our real estate academy that's going the second Tuesday of every month in Harlingen, Texas. If you're wanting to be a part of a community, guys, feel free to reach out to us. Mr. Gonzalez, if there's one last thing that you want to say, I do want to say I'm very grateful that you made some time. You're a very busy man. You got a busy schedule. And so anything before we close out that you would like to say?
Okay. One is, even though I've been on radio, we have a radio station in my place. Actually, it goes worldwide, and then it goes on TV. And I've been interviewed. I've done speeches, all of that. This is my first podcast.
It's your first formal podcast,
Yeah. So if I mess up, I ask the audience to forgive me.
It's all right.
Forgive me for my eccentricities. You know, I'm not exactly normal, and I don't want to be normal. But you gotta be like that to do what I do, because you got to think on your feet a lot. Okay, you can't be following a script. I have a bunch of notes. They're there. You know, I just feel boxed in when I do that. Okay, and I don't like that, which is why I'm not in corporate America. Okay, even though I was trained for that.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is this: that, especially with the financing program that we have right now, a lot of the reasons individuals don't get an appraiser and are not represented because they don't have the money to pay for the upfront fee.
Exactly.
We can cover that through credit, okay? And they can pay that off when they get a higher compensation, because the probability of getting a higher compensation based on experience, okay? My experience. And again, what they're saying, past experience doesn't guarantee the same thing in the future.
True. True.
However, just statistically, they've always gotten more. But because they start to kind of lowball from what I've seen. Now, if I see an offer that is very real, very good, I tell the people, you know what? I'll be wasting your money. I'll study it. I'll be wasting your money. Even some of them get angry. Say, ma'am or sir, I'll be wasting your money. I can do the appraisal, make a good fee. I'll be wasting your money because I don't see anywhere where I can get all of this. Like the one yesterday. Yeah, the textile hadn't done whatever, okay? And they got into the land. Well, they didn't consider the damage to the residential irrigation on both fronts.
Exactly.
There were like 6 trees, very large,
Mhm.
zero. We'll measure the circumference. We have a formula that we can defend in court. And then we have the taking itself, okay? And it was called damages to the remainder.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have an L-shaped fence that they're taking. Well, she has to replace that. So we put part of that in there, among other stuff that TxDOT did not put in there, okay?
Yeah.
And a seasoned appraiser will look at that and says, what's the value of that and how do I prove it?
Exactly.
Okay? You got to be able to prove it. You can't just say in there, well, my experience. That doesn't fly anymore. Okay?
No, and so yes, we like guys, Mr. Gonzalez, thank you so much. It is amazing to see, right, that if people want an appraiser for you, want to contact you, go to Southmost Appraisals. Guys, reach out to him. You can definitely find him online. If you are someone, guys, that is in real estate and you want to inform the public of what is going on and how you can best help them, reach out to us. You can email us at thrivewithaj, at thrivewithaj.com, and one of our team members will get a hold of you. But if you are a professional individual in real estate and you've been in it for years, reach out to us, guys. We would love to invite you on our podcast so that you can give back to the community down here. Mr. Gonzalez, we thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for everything you're doing.
Just a little plug. Phone number is 956-412-1357. I am shamefully plugging this. 956-412-1357. The email, the simple one, is usaexpert@yahoo.com. USA, like United States of America, expert@yahoo.com.
Yes.
And our website is southmostappraisals.com.
Yes.
If you Google the name Southmost or my name, Adelaido Lalo, Lalo Gonzalez, you'll find us all over the map. Okay?
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Thank you, guys. Have a great one.